All right, here's that moment of truth where Ron finds out if the internet said yes, you can. Did the internet say yeah? And who? It looks like YouTube's gonna pull off another victory here as far as being first. I think YouTube has. Yeah, YouTube's got. Well, Rockfin, did you? No. Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, it was very close. It was very neck and neck. Again, folks, it's not a competition. And I know there's a delay, but I got to wait and I got to see it live. And you know the drill. What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. We actually got some fun music news. We're going to do that at the end of the show. Got some fun music news today, which is always a good time for Music Monday. But good afternoon to all my East Coasters. My guest is over on the East Coast. Good morning to all my fellow West Coasters. And good evening if you're in an evening time zone. And if you're in the future, again, Australia, New Zealand, you guys had an extra day of science that the rest of us do not have, or a half day if we want to split hairs. Solve climate change and tell us what the solution is. Just text us. Text me. I mean, I'll relay the message. Just text me. Be like, here's how we fix it. I'll be like, great. Awesome. I will tell the United States and everybody else. Shout out to everyone who makes the show possible. Our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to get all the articles and streams and information from all the content creators you know and love. They curate a list and they update it twice a day. They kind of curate your news for you and they're like, boom, check it out. To find out everything they got going on and to join their Discord community, check them out at independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. All right. And our friends over at CT.com, CHITEA.com, their tea kind of rules. That Ron Tea is coming soon. In the meantime, show them some love over at CT.com. But the Ron Tea is coming. We're going to have some news soon. I'm letting you know now. My guest today is a regular. She is a hilarious comedian. And I was just on her show last night, her show Biting Commentary that she's going to tell you more about today. Please welcome back to the show, Lauren Ashcraft. Lauren, what's up?
Oh, it's great to be here, Ron. Thanks for having me.
So, since I was just on your show yesterday, we'll do a quick follow-up. How was the Greek Food Festival?
Oh, it was really good. So I went 2 nights in a row. It's the St. Demetrius Greek Food Festival in Astoria. And I went first with my friend Evie Hansopoulos, who's running for City Council in District 22. And she showed me what to get. So I took my partner back yesterday and introduced him to some amazing foods. And yesterday on Biting Commentary, I did try a cake called Ravani, which was delicious. There's still a little bit in my refrigerator because I didn't want to finish it on the show and make you all just sit there and watch me. Yeah, but it was very good. And thank you, St. Demetrius people, for feeding me like that for 2 days.
So I'm not a religious guy, but I think St. Demetrius is the patron saint of food festivals. He's the patron saint of buffets.
Yes.
That was his thing.
Yes, I will. Whatever that religion is where somebody is just really patronizing food festivals, that's me.
Well, they had a couple. I mean, there were a couple saints that kind of had some cool like niches. Like St. Francis was big on animals, right? Like that was his thing.
Oh,
I think I don't, I went to 12 years of Catholic school, but I have forgotten most of this stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty sure St. Francis was big on animals. He really
I like that. I was raised Lutheran, and I have to admit that I don't know anything about saints, but if there's a holiday where I get food, I am so for it.
Well, oh yeah, me too. The only thing when we do I guess it was the confirmation. I used to know this stuff because you had it drilled into your head 40 minutes a day, but I've forgotten almost everything. But like I remember we had to learn about the saints because we had to pick out a name for ourselves, and I picked out. I forget. I think I just picked John because it was just easy to go with. And someone told me, like, I guess John the Baptist was beheaded for his beliefs or whatever. And I was like, well, that's kind of neat. He whatever. So
he's a rebel. I like that.
I mean, that was, yeah. I mean, I don't know. But yeah. But shout out to Saint Dimitri and his patron saint of food. Well, we'll say that's his thing. He's the
Yeah,
patron saint of if I whenever I'm gone, if there's like a food festival in my name, I will have considered my life a huge victory.
I will host that for you. It's going to
Thank you.
be called the St. Ron Food Truck Festival, where there's bands playing and donuts and
Bands
cats.
playing, donuts, cats. I'll yes, brilliant. That's all I can possibly ask for. Just like I mean, we could even have like an Amish theme to it and just call it like Ron's Rumspringa,
I
where it's
love
just
that.
a big food festival in
Yes.
Ron's name.
Oh my gosh, is this because we're both Pennsylvanians?
Probably.
I
Yeah.
love
I mean,
that.
well, I did get a little nostalgic when you were saying, yeah, I'm going to this Greek food festival because I grew up around all that stuff and New York has it, but LA, I mean, obviously we have that sort of thing in LA, but it's not quite the same as what you see in on the East Coast and in the Midwest and stuff. It's just a little different out here. And that's okay, but yeah, I got a little nostalgic because I was like, oh yeah, it is
Oh.
that time of year.
Oh my gosh. You know what I grew up really loving and nobody knows what I'm talking about because I'm from a small town, but I really like Jubilees. Does this ring a bell for you or were you too urban for this?
I don't. Well, I mean, is it just what it sounds like? Like it's just sort of like a jubilee.
Yeah,
So
but
I've
like
never heard anything be called that. Like I've
yeah,
never,
Jubilees.
and they just called it that.
Yeah, well, we did, but I can't,
That's cool.
I can't speak for all of small town America, but it's like whenever the Ferris wheel and like a funnel cake machine comes to town and like a really scary clown, and you get on the Ferris wheel and you're like, I really hope that they like screwed these screws tight enough so that I don't die today.
So we
And
would just call that either the state fair or a carnival.
oh, okay.
Like I've never heard anyone call that a jubilee, but in Johnstown, PA, that's what they did.
Yes, yes, sir. Jubilee. And we used
That's
we
awesome.
used to say Jubla because we were really too cool to even call it a Jubilee. So if you hang out in Johnstown, Pennsylvania with me someday, we're totally going to the Jublas.
That sounds amazing. And that's just what a crazy, crazy world we live in. Because it's like I grew up an hour away from where you grew up. But if I was in your town and someone said, "Do you want to go to the Jubla?" I wouldn't have any idea what they were talking about. I would have no idea what they just asked me.
Yeah, well, I am available for personalized tours of Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
So let's hit the news. There's some breaking stuff going on, folks, and there's some interesting stuff. I want to go here first. Usually, when I would utter this sentence, if I ever utter this sentence, I would be doing so sarcastically. But here it goes. There was a free speech victory today. Doesn't happen often. Happens kind of never. But it happens sometimes. I would say it happened today. So here's a refresher. This concerns Abby Martin. I'm sure you're all familiar with Abby Martin, journalist, filmmaker, host of the Empire Files. So this happened a little while back. To refresh everyone's memory, filmmaker who wouldn't sign Georgia's Israel oath sues state. So Abby was scheduled to appear at a university, and I believe it was a media conference for a university. And they had this form she needed to sign, basically saying you would not protest against Israel or participate in BDS. And she said, I'm not going to sign that. That's ridiculous. I have every right in the world to protest a government should I choose to do that. You can't do that. So her appearance was canceled. They canceled her appearance, and she took it to court. Well, so here is an update on that I'm pretty sure just happened today, at least according to Abby's Twitter feed, just happened today. So check this out. Proud to announce, this is from Abby Martin's Twitter, proud to announce that we have officially won our lawsuit against the state of Georgia's anti-BDS law, which has been struck down as a result of our case. So not only did Abby win her lawsuit, but they also realized this law cannot stand. So Here's what the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund says. Huge victory in our BDS free speech case in Georgia on behalf of Abby Martin. Federal court rules Georgia's anti-BDS law is unconstitutional, violates Abby's First Amendment and due process rights by demanding she renounce support for BDS. And here's her statement on that. I am thrilled at the judge's decision to strike down this law that so clearly violates the free speech rights of myself and so many others in Georgia. My First Amendment rights were restricted on behalf of a foreign government, which flies in the face of the principles of freedom and democracy. So, little bit of a victory there. And do you, Lauren? First of all, give me your thoughts on the whole thing, and also I wanted to pose a question too. Is it important not just for the sake of maintaining our own humanity and maintaining a shred of hope, but also for creating a clearer map to larger victories, to kind of really highlight when small victories like this happen? And when I say small victory, I'm not trying to marginalize what happened. I'm thrilled for Abby. I applaud her and Mike for doing this. I think it's awesome. I'm thrilled about the ruling. So, I don't mean that, but what I mean by that is we still have such a long way to go in the big sphere of the world, especially with Julian Assange still sitting in a prison cell. We still have a very long way to go, but these types of things are very important.
Yeah, I think it's scary that she had to fight for the right to say her opinion. And I think hopefully, as Americans and people who have a vested interest in the future of this country, I hope that no matter what our stances are on an issue like this or any issues, I hope that we can agree that the ability to say what's on your mind is something that should never be taken away from us, unless it's like a hate crime, or there's like certain categories you can't say bomb on an airplane, but like for her to say she's protesting against an authoritarian government, that should not affect her career here and her ability to keep working on her craft, but being uninvited and having to really fight that battle. Not everybody would have the resources that she collected to be able to have that fight. So I think it's really indicative of something bigger and scarier that and it's not just with like Israel versus Palestine. It's like I got some threats for saying fuck the police when I ran for office. And
see, I will only vote for people who say fuck the police. If you don't say fuck the police, I just don't vote for you.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. But there's like a whole thing where like power protects power.
Sure.
And Abby's like one of the little people like us that is fighting the good fight to just be able to say her opinion. My goodness. So like whether you're for or against BDS or for or against whatever is happening anywhere on this planet, you should be able to say it. And we could really disagree, but you should be able to say it.
Oh, totally. Well, especially, and I know that this law pertained to the state as a whole, but especially like when you see things being so blatantly censored and put into this, like, well, you can't say this in an institution of higher learning, that's all the more concerning. Now, granted, there are some I say like areas where that doesn't apply. Like if somebody wants to, make a total pseudoscientific bogus lecture at a university, and the university says, we really don't have the funding for that, nor do we really think that this belongs in an institution of higher learning because it's just a bunch of bogus information. That's totally different. But if you're bringing someone in to speak on a topic where they have made a documentary on said topic, they have been there, they have an extensive body of work on said topic, and then you're going to restrict what views they're allowed to have, like that is I mean, that just thumbs its nose at the very idea of
Yeah,
education.
totally.
So, victory doesn't happen often. I just unironically said this is a free speech victory. We don't get to say that often. Say it to everyone today. Call your friends and family. Say, hey, there was a free speech victory today in the United States. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? It happens every so often. Not often. This is, in fact, I don't remember the last time, but I'm sure something happened at some point in time. So, little more breaking news. And Lauren, it's up to you to tell me whether or not this is okay, because you are my expert. You are my expert on all things New York.
Ooh, okay. I'm
You're
excited.
my New York person, and you probably saw this already, but you are my New York person. You need to let me know what we're dealing with here. Schools, we're going back to school. New York schools will return to in-person classes in the fall. No option for remote learning, the mayor said. And Bill de Blasio, great guy. He said,
oh my gosh, I just think we're sick of this guy here, and it's just been like between de Blasio and Cuomo, it's just been like a pissing contest, and it's like everyone who's not in on their joke is really so sick of them and their faces. I can't wait till de Blasio goes away. I hope that we can make Cuomo go away too. I'm so bored, Ron.
They are, and honestly, especially with those two, it's a literal, I mean, they are, if they were in a room and there was nobody else in that room, I would be willing to bet real money that they'd just be like, no one else is here. Can we just do what we really want to do? Can we just do what we've been dying to do? And then they both whip their dicks out and they decide who has the bigger one. That's really what
they get out like a measuring tape.
Yes, and they're just like, well, yours is bigger. Okay, you win. I think that is their biggest goal. Like the two of them, they just want to be in that room and they just want to find out once and for all. That's what they really, really want. But do you think it's too soon? Do you not think? And by the way, the disclaimer you always have to put in here, Lauren is not a scientist. I am not a scientist. Lauren is not a doctor. I am not a doctor. This conversation is for entertainment purposes only. We're just two citizens trying to make sense of the world. So calm down. Anyway, do you think it's too soon?
It's just my hippie opinions here. I think something that would be ideal would be kind of like a hybrid solution, like a whatever's best for you. So if for some reason you have an immune disorder or there's some medical reason that this just isn't the right fit for you right now, I think it's great if you have the option to continue to join online. But I think, unfortunately, which points to greater issues in our society, a lot of children, students in New York City have not had adequate internet. They have not had the laptops and the technology that they need to be able to sign in and learn.
Right.
So a lot of students have gone really undereducated for the last year and a half. And I think that's a real damn shame because, again, we're throwing billions of dollars at the police. And I'll say it again, fuck the police. We should throw that money towards making sure that every single student has the education they need to start their careers on equal footing with everybody else. And that is equity, my friends. So I think we are so far from that here. And de Blasio making everyone's decisions for them, saying that everyone needs to go back to school because he is trying to have a competition with Cuomo that they should just do in a closed room someday. It's not fair to the rest of us.
Yeah, and this is the thing that we're all struggling with and trying to make sense of, where it's, of course, you want to see the kids being able to go back to school. A lot of them are, just struggling to learn. A lot of them are very much struggling emotionally because they miss that social interaction. and which is totally understandable. I really don't envy young people right now. On the flip side of it, of course, you're wondering, well, is it safe enough yet? Are enough people vaccinated? Is everything going in a forward direction? And we're dealing with so many unprecedented variables and elements on a daily basis that it's just. And then the thing that is most bothersome and overwhelming is the fact that we have a society where it's like when you ask the question, are you putting the economy first or health first? You will be disappointed with the answer you get 100% of the time when you ask that question, regardless of your feelings or your analysis of what's going on in the world. If you ask that one poignant question, are you putting the economy first or are you putting people's healths first? The American society, the answer will always be, it's about business, baby.
It's so ironic though, and I know that we would agree about this, Ron, but like if you take care of the people, the economy will flourish. It's just a matter of like
Sure.
which level of the economy is our priority, and for us it's the billionaires. But if we want a really healthy economy, I think making sure that like we are not dying is something that's really important.
Yeah, and of course, just taking care of people during a pandemic. So yeah, I'm with you. And really, when you say the economy, what we're really meaning is the ruling class,
Billionaires. Yeah.
capitalism, the billionaires, the people who are benefiting from the system. Are they being put first, or is the health of society being put first? And we've gotten our answer many times over. From
So
Wall Street bailout to Wall Street bailout to us not getting a reoccurring UBI, the answer is the billionaire class, the ruling class. Their needs
yeah.
come first. We are an
It's
afterthought.
it's like being in a relationship with somebody and you're just like, "Hey, can you stop doing XYZ?" And they're like, "No." And then you go and like tell your friend, you're like, "Do you think that they'll change for me?" And your friend's like, "No, you should leave them." And you're like, "I think that I'm going to give them one more chance." But it's been almost the entirety of our existence as a country that we have been in an abusive relationship with ourselves and the ruling class. And I thought that by shoving all the tea into a harbor and saying that we don't want other countries to make our decisions for us, I thought that meant like we would like to have some autonomy as working class people, but apparently that wasn't the goal. And it was all about having white property owning men who are billionaires make our decisions for us. And I could go very much on for a very long time. Thank you for
Who knew
listening.
they were just going to look out for themselves? Who saw that coming? Who could have guessed?
Yep.
I always say if the United States was somebody I was dating, all of my friends would have had an intervention by now.
We need to
Like-
sit down, Ron.
Yeah, like they'd be like, Ron, what do you see in this person? Like, what do they treat you nice? Like,
No.
my partner gives me health care, and so your partner gives you health. Yeah, yours doesn't. What do you see in this person, Ron? Well, I I one time I just kind of made a tally, and I realized like so many of the things about the United States that make it like even like just kind of anecdotal things. Like I'm just not like, hey, guns. Not a fit. Baseball, actually, no. I'm more of a hockey guy. What about apple pie? Indifferent. Not one of my favorite desserts. Fireworks, don't like them. Like the list goes on and on. Where I'm just like beer. Not most of the domestic shit, other than the micro stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Like, do you ever
You're
think about
right.
that? Did you ever like break it down? And then like some of the things that I highlight, I'm like, well, I really like punk rock music. You've heard of London, right? Yeah, I have. I really like. I love the beach. Other places have coasts, Ron. Other places have coasts.
A lot of places have
a lot
beaches.
of places.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes, and I keep coming back to the sad realization that I'm here because my family is.
Yeah.
And that's always tough to like keep remembering. But along with being in an abusive relationship, we are bankrolling our abusive partners.
I know.
They're taking all of our money and then we don't get any benefits in return, and I just don't feel I feel like we should break up.
If the United States was a dating app, like you would totally swipe left. Like we all
I
would.
would.
Like
I
none of
would.
us would. Like, can you imagine what that profile was like? I love Jesus and my guns, and if you don't like that, tough.
They're
I
wearing like a
don't have
MAGA hat.
yeah, right. I don't have living wages or health care, and that comes first. And if you don't like it, Wall Street will always be my first love. And you're just like, I don't want to even like see this person on the bus, let
No.
alone go out with them. Oh man,
Yeah, I
swiping
think
left.
that would pretty much be the bottom of my list. Like any like Switzerland, I think would be really up there because I landed in that airport once and I switched planes there, and the airport smelled like chocolate, and I think that was a good indicator for me that things are going pretty well there. They have healthcare. They don't get into wars.
You
It's
know,
nice.
this is kind of a goofy thing to say, but I really do mean this. Sometimes you can tell, some things about a place by the vibe of the airport. Like
Chocolate.
you actually can. Yeah, like you could just feel like a more welcome vibe at some airports over others. Now I feel like in the United States that's not always a fair um analysis to make, because in the United States it's like Atlanta, for instance. That's pretty much the busiest airport in the world. So if you are in the Atlanta airport, chances are people aren't going to be crazy friendly. It's a very high stress airport. I don't think that's necessarily reflexive of Atlanta as a place. It just happens to be one of the busiest airports in I think in the world, definitely in the country. But like when you go to other places, like sometimes you can get a vibe where it's like, oh, they're just a little happier here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like they're happy that the airport smells like chocolate,
Yeah.
and
They're
then
not worried about paying off their doctor's bill.
yeah, like totally. Like this you got off the airplane in Switzerland, and there was the smell of chocolate, and Oompa Loompa came up to you, gave you a golden ticket, and that was for universal health care. And you were like, I'm sorry, I'm not staying. And they were like, well, we got to take this back. And you were like, maybe I should come back here again.
I will never leave. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't we've talked about someone asked me like if I went somewhere else, what would be like kind of like they asked for 10 countries. And so I gave them 10. I don't know if it was like totally in order, but I just kind of I mean, some of my decisions are based on like just where I would want to be, for like comedy and stuff like that if I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't here. So it's like London would be very high on my list, although I know England has their own set of problems, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I want to talk about this. This is another thing I wanted to talk about today. So we talked about a general strike on your show yesterday, and we covered the McDonald's strike on this show, and I'm sure you mentioned the McDonald's strike as well. That happened last week. I believe it was on the 19th,
The 19th. Yeah.
where in 15 different cities, McDonald's workers went on strike for $15 an hour, and we haven't seen, at least I haven't found a lot of information yet about the results of the strike. I think we're still going to be waiting a little while here, but here's something I wanted to share. While I was sleuthing, I came across this, and friendly reminder: when the corporate media, when people want to stifle a movement, and especially something like the corporate media, which does the handiwork to stifle movements all the time, and it's been that way since the 60s at least, the first thing they do is they try to trivialize the cause itself. They try to make you think that the people who are out there have nothing to bitch about. Everything's fine. What are they complaining about? So here's an example of that right here. Look at this article from CNBC. McDonald's raises hourly wages for company-owned restaurants. That sounds good, doesn't it? And this is from Thursday, May 13th, about a week before the strike was set to happen. McDonald's is raising the hourly wages for its U.S. company-owned restaurants by an average of 10%. The fast food giant is looking to hire 10,000 workers over the next 3 months. Based on the current labor market, McDonald's expects that the average wage for employees of its company-owned restaurants will be $15 an hour by 2024. So by 2024, people will be making almost a living wage, and it'll be worth even less by 2024. But here's the fun part. You think, well, that they're raising wages. I'm just going to read the headline. Isn't that great? They're raising wages. This company-owned restaurant, a lot of people just kind of breeze by something like that. But what does that really mean? Well, guess what, folks? we got to scroll all the way down to the bottom to find out what that really means. If we scroll all the way down to the bottom, all the way down, 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph, 3 paragraph, 4 paragraph. Here they're saying workers at McDonald's company owned will see a pay raise. Entry level employees will be making $11 to $17 an hour. Shift managers 15 to 20. Okay, wages are getting better. Here's the kicker, everybody. However, this is from the article at the very bottom. However, these increases will not directly impact workers who are employed by restaurants owned by McDonald's franchisees. The fast food giant franchises 95% of its U.S. restaurants. What does that mean? That means everything they just talked about only applies to around 5% of all McDonald's restaurants. They don't mention that part until the very end, because the way it works is you can franchise a McDonald's if you're just an individual. And I don't know why I pointed at myself. I do not have the resources to franchise a McDonald's, nor would I even if I did. But and those franchisees can just kind of run it the way they want. They do have some rules, but McDonald's sure as hell isn't going to make them pay living wages. They have some rules they need to follow. To echo the brilliant Mitch Hedberg joke, they can't start selling spaghetti, but they don't have to pay living wages. Isn't that just textbook? I mean, that is not news. That is a PR piece.
Yeah, it's astounding. I could go on and on about like how the media just isn't reporting what's actually happening. But I think I was actually surprised that text wasn't white and you had to like highlight it to see that last sentence.
I'm surprised it wasn't like one of those. They have an asterisk and then it's like in real small print after the asterisk. Yeah, like it's surprising that it was even in the last paragraph.
Yeah. They had to do that for like legal purposes or something.
Right. They couldn't get away with just not having it in at all. So they were like, in the last paragraph, let them know that this only applies to like 5% of McDonald's restaurants.
Like
and that could have been the headline, by the way. They could have been like 5% of McDonald's restaurants are kind of maybe sort of doing something about living wages. Other 95% doing nothing.
Exactly.
Workers striking.
Exactly. That's the real piece. That's the real piece of news here. But the media is a big part of why. I just feel as though we have gone through our entire lives having like propaganda pushed in our face. And it's not necessarily like government driven. It's like oligarchy driven. It's like billionaire driven. And it's all this thing. It's like these holders of power, which are like rich capitalists. They give money to our government officials and they're like, oh yeah, we're really good partners. This will really trickle down to the rest of you guys. And like 7 generations later, we're still like, yeah, we can't eat. We don't have a house.
Not happening. Not happening.
Still not.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how we just accept and I get, like the collective we in the United States, but you even see people on the left echoing these types of sentiments at times where they demonize. Everyone loves to say state media like it's some big demon, and it certainly can be. But you know what else is also state media is what they have in Norway and England and Canada and all of those structures. Well, none of them are perfect. They're way better than ours. In particular, Norway. I mean, Norway has like the top press freedom ranking in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even without the chocolate aroma, they still beat out Switzerland. And like Norway has like the top press freedom ranking. And it's because they have an elected board to kind of oversee this stuff, where it's like media outlets have to be very transparent about who owns them, who funds them. Journalists' rights are very much protected. I'm sure it's got its flaws, everything does, but it's a much healthier system that citizens have a say in, compared to what we have here, where we literally just hand it over to corporations and they can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. And I think about how like Fox News is allowed to call itself news. And I
Sure.
think like a lot of stuff really started with Reagan when he was like, oops, we don't need to have any kind of standards in what constitutes news. Um, and we've kind of been flailing ever since. It's been real fun, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got rid of the fairness doctrine. I want to say that was like 87.
One
Not
of
that that
Reagan's
was
best.
yeah, right? Like, not that that was the be all and end all, but that was a big thing. And then the other big moment was during Clinton in 96 with the Telecom Act.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the act that even though it's so funny, that bill started in 1995, and it was supposed to address like broadband discrepancies. It was supposed to be about accessibility to stuff like broadband and stuff like that. Then it got completely reassessed by I think it was like that Republican out of South Dakota, and it became the disaster that we know it as. And it completely gutted the amount of media, like gutted the rules in regards to the media that one company could own. So it's like we used to have regulations, like you could only own like 2 AM, 2 FM stations in a given market. You could only own like one newspaper. They gutted all those rules. So that really allowed the Murdoch empire to flourish. That allowed cable news to really flourish. That really ushered in the era we have today,
Mm-hmm.
which is the complete opposite of how a democratic society should be run. This idea that Comcast can pass off whatever they want as news, that Time Warner can pass off whatever they want as news, that Rupert Murdoch's wet dream is considered news. And that's what we have. That's the big trinity right there. Comcast, Time Warner, Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
That's our
Yes.
news structure.
Totally. And he's also, Rupert Murdoch has also impacted international news, multiple different countries. It's really scary that one person can change the course of global history to the extent that he has. And I just think, and it kind of goes back to like, I have a very firm stance that there is no such thing as a good billionaire. And I also feel as
I'm with
though,
you.
like, yeah, I also feel like no one person should hold so much power and say. And it's just not possible to maintain any kind of normality if you have that much power.
Well, nobody becomes a billionaire unless they either A, directly screw people over a bunch, or they were part of a structure where a lot of people got screwed over and they benefited from that.
Mm-hmm.
And that second category is very, very rare. Like that second category is people like Paul McCartney comes to mind, because sometimes with people, when I say things like there are no good billionaires, no one becomes a billionaire unless they screw a bunch of people over. People have said on Twitter before, they're like, well, what about Paul McCartney? And it's like, well, if you look at how the music industry works and the amount of people who got screwed over, especially black people who wrote these hit songs who were never compensated properly, and despite writing hit songs that made other people millions of dollars, a lot of them died in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
That systemic racism that existed for years in the music industry, is that Paul McCartney's fault as an individual? Of course not. He's not even from the United States, but he benefited from that system.
Mm-hmm.
He would not be a billionaire otherwise. He'd be rich. He'd be very rich. I mean, the Beatles, and I love the Beatles. I love their music. But I'm just saying, nobody becomes a billionaire unless a lot of people get screwed over in the process, either directly or in a handful of exception cases, indirectly.
Yeah. I think about that. I used to be like, wait, but like J.K. Rowling is like a single mom who, and then she turned out to be very hateful towards the LGBTQIA community. And I'm like, never mind. Harry Potter sucks.
I was so proud that I never got bit by the Harry Potter bug. I
I
never.
liked it. I liked it, but now if you go back and look, you can read it or watch it. Actually, don't. But if you watch it, you're like, oh, turf move here. Like also
Is
the
is that in there? Are there like subtle things in there?
You
I mean,
know
I
what?
wouldn't know. Like I have no clue. Like I've never. I read one of the books, uh, years and years ago, and I was like, I don't get what the hype is, and that was it.
The naming of her characters of color are extremely ignorant.
Really?
Yeah, I forget. There's like one Asian character, and let me look it up because you guys will, as a part Japanese woman, this really offended me. I'll find it while I have to do this.
It offended me so much. I don't remember the details, but
Yeah,
trust me.
I think I
No,
like
I
wipe it from my
no, I
mind.
feel you. I feel you. Yeah, I don't know. The extent the last time I had any exposure to Harry Potter was when I was in Edinburgh because that was where she lived while she wrote those books. And I love Edinburgh. I mean, Edinburgh is a great place. It doesn't matter, whether she was there or not. But she it was kind of funny because there's this one cafe that she famously hung out at. And my wife wanted to go to it because it's like this is where she wrote most of the Harry Potter books. My wife enjoyed the Harry Potter books. So we went and it was a cool place actually. I got a really good baked good there. But
Ooh.
but we went and that was so funny because it was just a coffee shop. And so afterwards we were like, well, let's go get a drink. And so we went next door and next door, it just said like there was this sign out front that is probably always there. And it just said J.K. Rowling wrote here too. And then in parentheses, they put probably question mark.
That's funny. So the character's name was Cho Chang, which Chang is
Oh,
obviously a fine name, but Cho, you could have at least just like Googled or had anybody advise you about like what an acceptable and common female first name might be.
mm,
Um, and that is not it. She just made it out. She made it up. It's a Korean surname. Chang is Chinese. And
hmm.
just a little research, just a little. If you have
Yeah. I
billions
mean,
of
you could have just done
dollars,
a Google search. You could have
yeah,
just done a Google search and just picked out like a more common name for the character that's like appropriate.
exactly. Thank you for letting me air that out
No,
live.
I feel I'm just and when I say I'm not trying to be like what I never got the Harry Potter thing. I'm so cool. Like I just never like it just didn't click with me. I don't think it's I mean, I know so many I wish I was more hip to it because so many of my friends and family loved it and I just didn't I just never got bit. I never got bit by the Lord of the Rings bug. And I'm sure I mean people love it. I'm sure it's brilliant storytelling. I don't know. I just missed that wave. I missed that wave. I wasn't cool enough for that wave.
Maybe you were too cool.
I don't think so.
It's the rebel thing in you. I think on the last show I was on together, you were like, I did not stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance because I was a rebel. I just didn't
That was just me
understand.
being goofy as a kid. Like, it just seemed silly to me, and I was like, "I'm not gonna do it." And they just yeah. But with the Harry, like, I never had some sorta because some people, like, they do have that kind of militancy about it where they're like, "Yeah, I don't get it. I think it's not I just think it's stupid and it's silly and it's for children." And I wasn't that guy. I was just like, "Yeah, I just never got into it." It's
Mhm.
like because you will be confronted when you're just like, "I don't yeah, I'm not really hip to Harry Potter." They're just like, "Oh, why do you think it's for kids? Are you not? You don't like?" And it's like, no, I enjoy the concept of fantasy. I have nothing against those types of stories. I like. I mean, I like some really ridiculous, over the top horror movies. I enjoy it. I don't care if anyone doesn't approve of that. But I don't it just missed me. I don't know. Or I missed it. I didn't seek it out. Sorry. I don't they're like, well, why? I went to a Harry Potter themed party once that some of my best friends in the world they had, and it was a ball. They had there was this kind of duplex in Chicago, and on the first floor were two of my college friends who are a married couple now. And on the second floor were also two of my college friends who are a married couple now. So they had this sort of
Oh,
situation. So they had this big Harry Potter themed bash where they just had the two floors going. And, my buddy Roderick is he's a pretty like knowledgeable mixologist, so he was making all these Harry Potter themed drinks. I didn't understand any of the references, but they tasted freaking great.
Ooh.
He made butter beer, like legit butter. Like it wasn't just like cream soda at Disney World. It was like legit, like he made it, and it was very good. And I was Ron because that was just the obvious character for me to be. And so all I did was I just wear a collared shirt with a sweater and I shaved. That was it. That was my Ron costume.
That's perfect. And your name is Ron. I love
Right.
it.
Right.
Butterbeer, I've never tried it, but I have always wanted to. And that's really like one of those internal battles I have with myself about like, am I supporting J.K. Rowling by having butterbeer? And the answer is not, especially not if your good friend makes it.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, we'll all cross paths someday and I'll have him make a batch and y'all can talk about Harry Potter and I'll just nod and I'll be like, yeah. But yeah, like it was funny. There were only 2 people at the party who knew nothing about Harry Potter. I was one, and then this other guy was the other one. And so because he had no clue about Harry Potter either, he wore a suit and he had a bunch of Monopoly money that he would kind of just throw up in the air and he had it like in all of his pockets, like this absurd amount of Monopoly money. And people were like, well, what's your costume supposed to be? And he goes, I'm the publisher.
Oh my God.
Because he's like, I don't know anything about Harry Potter.
That's
But I
hilarious.
know it made some people really rich. So that's my
Oh,
costume.
that's really good. If there were a contest, I would vote for that. That's an incredible costume.
I think we did have an informal contest and he was like in the top 5. But there were some people really went all out on their costume. So I don't think he won, but I do think he was in like the top 5 for irony points. So
Very cool.
it was a great time. Again, I know this was years ago. This was before, anything unfavorable got, surfaced about J.K. Rowling. But yeah, that was a good time. But me and one other dude knew nothing about Harry Potter. I just know, like I knew about. I mean, people would bring up the Ron Weasley thing because he's a fellow ginger named Ron. But
That's
so
fun.
I got something kind of cool. I know you're what kind of music do you like? We've like
Oh.
briefly touched on this, but I've never really put you in the hot seat.
I'm a 90s gal. I really love Rage Against the Machine is my all-time favorite band. Um Obviously also really like Red Hot Chili Peppers. I like Soundgarden. I like Pearl Jam. And I hear myself talking and I'm like, yeah, I just keep reaffirming the 90s. So yeah, I like
Yeah, consistent
90s.
90s. Nirvana?
Yeah. I love Nirvana.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
I love that. And then I skip a bunch of years and I also really like Ella Fitzgerald and like the Rat Pack, and I'll have that on when I'm just like trying to chill somewhere. Like I actually like whenever I have like an outdoor event and there's like Ella Fitzgerald or something playing, I'm like, this is my zen. That's my
Oh,
zen.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like if you're like going on a run or something like that? Is that when the Rage Against the Machine comes out or?
I actually have I have a bad bitch playlist that I made myself, and
Nice.
it's like Doja Cat and Haim. I think that's how they pronounce
Okay.
their band's name. Nicki Minaj,
Okay.
Cardi B, um, Megan the Stallion. I
I'm not
think,
familiar with that.
yeah,
I
Lizzo. I love Lizzo.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah, I'm not. I try my best to stay up to date on everything, like be it pop music or anything else, and I just I'm not. It gets harder with each passing year, and I kind of, I get it. Like I'm one of the older generations now. Like I'm not like the newest generation anymore,
No, we're
and
not.
I know it does feel weird. Like it feels weird, like seeing the baton is being passed. And I really came to terms with that, you know, I mean, I really came to terms with that, like when I would talk to people of the younger generation and they would like, they would ask me what Warped Tour was like when I was going, and I realized my experience was totally different compared to theirs. And my experience was the shit that they read about and wondered if it was actually true or not. And that will make you feel really freaking old.
Damn.
Where it's like they read about this stuff. And they wondered, like, was the band barbecue really a thing? Yeah, it was a thing. And I was,
Wow.
like, now
Damn.
now I feel bad about everything.
Ron, you're fueling my existential crisis.
Mine too. But so I want to share, this is really cool. So there's a band out there called the Linda Lindas. They're very young, and they're a punk rock band in Los Angeles, and they had a video go viral recently, and they got a record deal out of it. They signed to Epitaph Records, which is a local label, by the way. But they released their single Racist Sexist Boy, and they filmed it at a library. The music video went viral. I don't know if you saw it. I tweeted it.
No, now I have to go watch it. They
You
sound
got to check it out.
great.
We won't play it because of copyright issues on YouTube and whatnot. But it's a really cool song, and I actually first heard of them, and they mentioned this in the article too. They were in an Amy Poehler movie that I recommend if you haven't seen it yet, called Moxie, Moxie. And it's this Amy Poehler movie where Amy Poehler's the mom, and her daughter is dealing with going to high school and trying to fit in, trying to find herself, And Amy Poehler's character was a big Riot Girl fan back in the day. Like she participated in a bunch of protests. She loved bands like L7 and Bikini Kill. And so her daughter goes into the attic and finds her mom's old, punk rock Riot Girl zines and stuff like that from back in the day. And she really connects with it. So she starts her own zine in school. And it's kind of this new generation of that. And I thought that was just such a cool premise for a movie. And so I watched it, and it's a great movie. I recommend it. You should watch it. You will really enjoy it. Even if you're not familiar with any of those bands, like you'll still really enjoy this movie. And so there's this scene, and I don't want to give any of the plot away, but there's this scene where they're all like at this event, and there's a band playing, and that band is the Linda Lindas.
Oh.
And they cover a Bikini Kill song, and they do a great job with it. And I'm like, who are these, just actresses, or who is this? And I look it up, and I found out, oh wait, this is a real band. They are a young, all-female, Asian and Latinx punk band that's so freaking cool. And so I heard of them through that. And then when I found out later, I didn't even know this when I saw the movie. I found this out since they got signed, which happened, just a little bit ago. Amy Poehler saw them at a show opening for Bikini Kill, and that's how they got the movie gig.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool. I love stories like that. And I am actually very excited to check out their music.
Check them out. Check out the Linda Lindas. That'll be our band for Music Monday. And also, I recommend that movie, Moxie. I think, Lauren, you'll definitely really like it. And I recommend it to everybody. Check out that movie. It's a really fun movie. It's comical, but it's also bittersweet, and it's a coming of age story. And there's some pretty important heavy themes in it too. I recommend it. It's a really good movie. Amy Poehler's hilarious in it, as she often is, and things that she does. She's very funny, and yeah. So
I love Amy Poehler. Okay, Moxie, the Linda Lindas on my list.
And congrats to them for getting signed to Epitaph. One of the powerhouse labels that's still going. Record labels are slowly, they're still going strong, a lot of them, but a lot have kind of drifted away. Epitaph still going strong, so that's awesome. It's funny you brought up 90s music, because something went viral. I want to say maybe as recent as this morning, and it pertains to music as well.
Ooh.
And it's a little bit of an experiment. So I want to do this experiment with you. We're going to do this
so
experiment
excited.
like right now. And I'm just going to allow you to just respond. I'm going to say something, and you just respond however you want to respond.
Oh no, I'm scared. Okay.
You ready?
Okay.
Peaches come from a can.
Oh my gosh. Am I missing something?
Maybe.
I probably am.
We were talking 90s music.
Oh my gosh. What's wrong with me? I would say
Well, you're on the
yum.
spot. Yum. So someone tweeted this out. Peaches come from a can. They were put there by a man in a factory downtown.
Yum.
Still not ringing a bell. So check this out. This tweet, it's up to 22, almost 23,000 likes.
Wow.
All right. This is such a fun tweet. A good way to tell elder millennials from younger ones is to shriek. Oh, I didn't sing it. Maybe
Oh
that's
my
why I couldn't pick it
gosh.
up. Peaches come from a can at them and see what happens.
Wow, that's
Maybe I should have
really
sang it.
funny. Is
Come from a can.
this what happens? Do others just stare blankly?
I don't know, maybe, but we're both millennials, but I do know I'm a little older than you, so maybe we just proved her experiment.
Oh my gosh.
Because as soon as I saw Peaches come from a can, I did think they were put there by a man in a factory downtown. If I had my little way, I'd eat peaches every day. Still not ringing a bell?
No.
Really? Oh, presidents of the United States of America.
Oh my gosh. I
That was their.
resign. I
Oh
resign.
no, that was their big hit. That and Lump. Do you remember the song Lump? Lump sat alone on a buggy marsh, totally motionless. Oh, you gotta listen to them now. You have so many fun things to do
Oh
after
my
this show.
gosh. Moxie.
Moxie, the Linda Lindas, the
Lindas.
presidents of the United States. Start with the hits. Start with Lump and
Wow.
Peaches.
Did I just miss out on some 90s?
Well, this was, I mean, Lump, those songs would have been, I want to say, well, now I have to look it up. I can't. I want to say 94. Let's see if I'm right.
Oh my gosh.
Here,
Well,
let me.
I have identified myself as somebody who failed that
95.
experiment. Okay.
It was 95. I failed. I failed the world. It was
Oh.
1995.
Wow, did we just do exactly what that experiment is telling us to do?
We kind of, I mean, I saw it ahead of time. So I guess like I had to, but yeah, they were like, just shriek sing, peaches come from a can.
Wow.
And you can tell the older millennials from the younger ones.
Oh my
So
gosh.
congratulations, you're a younger millennial.
I guess.
You win.
I'm 32, which feels old to me, but age is a mindset. That is what I'm telling myself in my existential crisis. Age is a mindset.
You know, my buddy, a songwriter friend of mine, this is one of his songs. He's a musician. His name's Tim Carroll. Great stuff. I recommend you can add that to the list. Tim Carroll. It's all kinds of fun stuff for everyone to check out on today's Music Monday. But one of my favorite songs by him is the song called "You Can't Stay Young, but You Can Stay Cool."
Oh my gosh, that's so us. Like
Yeah.
we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about like I really want to be the purple-haired skateboarder at age 90, and you're
Yeah.
going to be the guy with the backpack in the library, and I just I feel very cool about that.
Yes.
And I'll be singing Peaches from a Can.
Check that. Oh, you're gonna love that song, and you're gonna remember it too. Like when you hear it, it's. I guarantee it's not your first time hearing that song.
I'm sure it's not.
But
it's one of those things. I was thinking about. This is like an idea for a sketch that I had that I have to write it. But it's like, and we were actually talking about all this propaganda. But I was thinking about like Calm. You know how you listen to those meditations and it's really, really, really boring. But that's the point of it. So like they're gonna have like a 10-minute really, really, really boring segment. And then after that 10 minutes is up, when they like scientifically think that you're asleep, it starts going into like leftist propaganda, which is like I'm just thinking like any statistics that you like wish people knew about, like since 1994, we haven't had unbiased media in this country and stuff like that. And then you just wake up like and you're just very informed and feel very passionate. Like you'll just be watching the news and get super triggered by the most random things. That is my plan.
Well, isn't that kind of what like the Gen Z TikTokers are?
Oh yeah, I love TikTok.
Some of those TikToks that they make, and I don't know if anyone actually calls it that. I might just be embarrassing myself a bunch right now. Like, isn't that what the TikTokers do? Is it the same thing the tweeters do? What about
Oh,
the Facebookers?
I'm pretty much algorithmed into like TikTok thinks that I'm a witch and I don't hate it. I keep learning spells and I'm like, okay, here we
That's
go.
awesome. Like legit, like they're telling you spells.
Spells. Oh,
That's
yeah.
wow.
I've been
Okay.
algorithmed into witch talk and I don't hate it.
How'd you fall
I
into that?
I don't know what I clicked along the way, but now I'm just surrounded by people putting spells on other people and I'm like, I love it. I don't want to make any enemies. I don't want to do it.
You had to have started that somewhere.
I'm
Something had to be the
sure
catalyst for that.
there was something that had like hashtag witch talk and I liked it. I have to go back through my history and find out what it was, but now it's like only spells.
That's cool. But I mean, I'm not super hip to TikTok. Wow, I just called it TikTok.
TikTok.
TikTok. I don't fully I mean, I'm on it and I will post stuff occasionally. I don't really know what I'm doing, admittedly. But I have seen some of those videos that younger people or like people in their teens and 20s are making that have went viral where they'll just be doing a dance and then they'll have this like fact about how capitalism sucks. And I
I
think
love
those are
that.
so badass. I mean, those are freaking awesome. How can you see that and not be, not be inspired by the younger generations?
I
I mean,
love
I think
that.
that's so, and I'm not saying they don't have their faults. All generations do. Ours does. The ones before us do have. The ones after us do. But that's pretty freaking badass.
Oh my gosh. Johanna, you just have to go to hashtag witch talk. That's
Oh,
where
people
you
are asking,
find yeah,
where can I get these spells?
witch talk.
I need some more
Very
spells.
cool. Tell them I said
Uh,
hi.
Lauren, where can everyone go? Well, let me give a shout out here. Bulls on Parade, what's up? Let me do your question here. Thank you for the tip over on the Rockfin. Ron, what do you think about protesting outside of corporate headquarters instead of protesting at government buildings? I think taking our grievances to the actual bosses of this country instead of the government salespeople makes more sense. Sure, I'm for it. I'm for protesting everywhere. I don't think there's ever been, I'm like, nope, not there. I'm like, nope, there. So if you say outside of Amazon headquarters, I'm down. If you say outside of the White House, I'm down. Yeah, I don't, I'm not going to say I've never seen a protest I didn't like, because certainly there's been protests for causes that I personally don't support. But I am all for, if I'm for the cause, I'm, pretty chill on the location. What do you think, Lauren?
Yeah, same.
There we go. Thank you for that, Bulls on Parade. Lauren, where can people go to learn more about you?
Well, I do have this new show, and we have a really cool episode that just aired yesterday with Ron. If you go to YouTube, I'm at Biting Commentary, and TikTok, I am at Biting Commentary. Vote on Twitter, I'm at Vote Ashcraft. So I should probably change my handles, but apparently you lose your blue check mark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You don't want to do that. You don't want to
yeah.
lose your blue check mark. So
I
you
would
gotta
lose my account in a matter of minutes because people report me all day.
really?
Yeah.
How do you know they report you? Do you get a thing?
Yeah. No,
Really?
if you have a blue check mark, you're pretty protected. It has to be a very coordinated effort, but like there was one day that I like went really hard at Andrew Cuomo and I kept having to like verify my identity and they say that is an indication that someone thinks your account is hacked. That's like the
Yeah.
report that you can do. And I'm
Right.
like, "No, it's me. I still hate Andrew Cuomo. It's
Just
me."
don't like the guy. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, really, truly. I'll keep doing it.
Well, one
Um,
brief follow-up before we sign off then. What do you think, what's he trying to do? Is he trying to wait out the clock? What do you think he's trying to do?
I think he's gonna run again. It's like I think that he has an ego that's too large to realize that something he did is wrong.
Sure.
And I mean, one of the things that I take from my, time in politics is I've been in the room with these people and they're different than us.
Sure.
And they don't have there's something that we have that we would feel bad about if we like tried to ruin a bunch of people's lives and killed 15,000 senior citizens, but they just don't have that. And I think that he will run until he loses and then write more books and run again.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, as far as the scandal is concerned, what do you think he's just trying to wait it out? Do you think he's just like what do you think his plan is? Because he's really, I mean, his brother even was like cancel culture's the fault. Or, I mean, he's really just no. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
need to tell you this, you know this, but like just no remorse, no empathy, like nothing.
Yeah, that's really what I'm talking about is there's like something that we have. There's none of that in these people. And I mean
Mm,
like Cuomo, a bunch of our former presidents,
yeah,
probably most of them, but
yeah.
I think like Jeff Bezos, I don't know what it is, but like a lot of these people get to the very, very top of their industries, and they have done so by ruining lots of lives. And it's unfortunate. Like I tried to play the game in a very different way, and I'm really proud of our results. We got pretty far. And I'm hoping that's where our movement pushes us is like, let's support real people running for office that have morals and like wouldn't be able to sleep at night if their constituents are losing their homes and starving. Um, yeah, but we have unfortunately let the wrong people in this country just get an enormous amount of power. And the Cuomo family has a lot of power in politics and the media. And it's rather unfortunate.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. I mean, we really, it's funny when we make fun of like when we poke fun at things like the royal family and like royal lineages and stuff like that. It's like we have no room. We have the Cuomos and the Bushes and the Clintons and the Bidens and I mean, the list goes on and on. The McCains, like it's
Mhm.
like the list goes on and on. Like the same stuff happens here.
Yeah, and it's very like, if you say that stuff on Twitter, then a bunch of people come at you saying you're like a conspiracy theorist, and I'm like, nah,
What's
like
the
there's
conspiracy?
it's this whole like you hate the Democrats, and I'm like, well, unfortunately, I'm still registered as one, and I'm just trying to save us, but you guys are pretty far gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not registered as one, but I feel your pain, and I just don't like what's nepotism's real. That's a conspiracy now. Like no, that's legit. You see
It's
it.
a
You
fact.
see it. It's a fact. It's right there. It's right there. The Cuomo, his brother in the media is helping him just blatantly do PR. That's like that's an ethics violation 101. Nothing's being done about it. I still think my theory might have some water that they're just going to switch jobs. They're just going to switch. Fredo's going to become governor. Elder Fredo's going to be a CNN guy. I think that they'll just try to sell it. They'll, they'll just try. They'll be like, don't you all like our dad? We're switching jobs.
I mean, it's modern day America. I feel like that plan would work um pretty well.
So everybody check out Biting Commentary. Follow Lauren on Twitter at Ashcraft. And I've been doing send-offs for people's pets. And when my guest has a pet, their pet does the send-off. So Ruth, and what is the other one's name?
Queenie.
Queenie. Yes. All right. All right.
Oh
All
no,
right.
not at all. I don't think I really talk about her name. I just post lots of pictures. So Queenie,
You got two of them, and you just post a bunch of pictures.
I
But
do.
yeah, but Ruth says meow. Queenie says meow. Lucy says meow. Where is she? She's asleep somewhere. But Lucy says meow, and she says meow to Ruth and Queenie. And Lauren says peace, and I say peace. Check out Biting Commentary. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Peace.